One of the most important things to some people, and I hate to admit this, but me included in this, is how someone smells. But I literally, some people, I just want to be around them because they just smell so good. But scientists say that they have linked people's body odors to their politics. Here to discuss the details on this and a lot of other things is Mark Spurlock, #1 Yelp-rated child and family therapist in San Diego. Congratulations on that, Mark.
Thank you much.
Really though? I mean, smells. So when we're all picking teams in the gym class, like, are we ending up with the team that we just like the way they smell better?
Well, here's what's happened. I think there's a lot of these smell studies, and so for I think there's a lot of conclusions that are made based on some of the findings, and I'm not quite sure about that. What they're finding out is, I think the Journal of Political Science, put out a study that basically said that liberals are attracted to liberals and conservatives are attracted to conservatives just based on body smell.
Okay, so what are the smells? That's what I want to know. Because I know the undertones that I like to be around. I know exactly what they are. I can tell you it's like tobacco and cedar.
Yeah. Well, they didn't go there. What they were doing, and this is kind of,
this is freaking me out a little bit.
I know, that's what I said. I like these. These are armpit gauze pads, okay, gauze pads.
Come on.
Okay, yes, they have to do it, blind, studies and everything else like that.
I don't think I like this anymore.
Exactly, that's what I said. I don't like this. So what they did find, though, was interesting. They found out that people who are strongly conservative like the smell of these pads, the underarm pads that were from conservative people.
But they didn't distinguish what the smells
were. No, absolutely
were.
not. Absolutely
because
not.
different people do emit different smells.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to honestly think that I had a talent that was marketable in my ability to smell people. I can even tell my husband will come home from work, I'm like, oh, you had lunch with Art. I mean, like literally, I can tell who he had lunch with. Yeah.
Here's the thing, okay? Smell goes really, really deep, okay? And there's a strong, strong connection of smells and deep memories, okay? And so, I mean, think about it. You can practically remember the way your grandmother's house smelled.
Oh, definitely. Her face cream, my grandma's powder. I mean, this goes on all day for me.
Absolutely. So there's a strong connection with memory and smell, and I think that's probably what we're picking up on, so to speak.
I still think it's creepy.
Yeah.
I mean, I smell people, but I definitely not. I don't. I guess I didn't think it was their underarms. My daughter this morning, I was getting ready. She goes, "I love the smell when you get ready for work," and I thought, "Oh, that's so sweet." And I could remember that about my mom and my grandma too.
Yeah.
Happy wife, happy life. I say in one of my opening chapters in What Women Really Want, our new book, I say that it is that the best thing that a father can do for his children is to love their mother. That's not my quote. That's someone else's quote, and I put it in the book, whoever it is.
Right.
And but happy wife, happy life makes the husband happier too, not just the children, huh?
Well, here's what I think. What happens is, again, just looking at studies. You can look at studies in one way, and then kind of make conclusions. What happens is women typically score less happy on marital satisfaction exams, okay, or surveys, so typically 20%. All right, and so.
But is part of that just because women? I mean, I think that would be bifold. I think it would be one thing that women kind of have more to remember in a marriage. I feel like I do.
So.
I'll say, I think I'm the only person in this house that remembers everything and has to remind everyone of everything.
Yeah.
And my brain wants to
Absolutely.
explode.
And I see this in counseling all the time.
Yeah.
Where, say, how are we doing this week? And the guy said, oh, we're doing great and everything. And she's like, no, that's not the case. He goes, well, we had a good day yesterday. And he goes, yes.
Aren't men just less analytical interpersonally?
Well, I think that's what we're picking up on here. The reality is women are much more in tune to the relationships, and they're much more aware of the resentments, I think, that are going on in the relationships, those things that are not going well. Men tend to be more short-term memory, so to speak, in regards to that. And so I think when you ask them, how's things going in your relationship, and based on their surveys, they tend to say, well, it seems to go well now, whereas women are more aware of the long-term resentment. So here's the caveat: happy wife, happy life.
Yeah.
Not necessarily. So
interesting. All right, so Americans, sorry, Michelle, waistlines are still expanding. The study has found. So The question though is, and I've always wondered this because my dad is an avid bodybuilder, still to this day, works out every day. Oh, most of the time when I call him, he's in some sort of workout.
Right.
And he's always believed that if somebody doesn't look good, you should tell them. And as a result, he told me many times I can gain a pound, and my dad's like, looking a little thick around that area. You know, he knows. But I never felt like that really motivated me. What is it? There are studies on this now. What is the truth about this? If someone is looking a little portly, does it help to tell them? Are they aware? Do they know? And might it be motivational if you do tell them?
Yeah. Well, I think that what you want to look at is there's a new study that came out. Basically, it said that if you tell somebody in a mean way, that they're, fat, basically you're discriminating against them or you're treating them meanly, okay, that they're less motivated to change that because they will engage in comfort feeding, as well as they're less likely to engage in physical exercise. And so that makes some sense.
So if you knock them down, they're going to be less likely to take a productive approach toward what they probably already know. Don't people know when they're fat?
Well, if you want to give some feedback to somebody, obviously the people that we're closest to, that feedback matters the most, okay? And so you want to do it in a way that's truthful, direct, and kind,
Okay,
so,
Mark, now you're scaring me. Now, what are you going to say? Let's say, let's say wife has put on 10 pounds and you've noticed it. How are you going to sweetly say that?
Well,
I'm just going to sit here and get my popcorn.
Well, my wife swims the bay in La Jolla, so I have no worries about that.
Okay, but let's say she had a little...
but this happens a lot in therapy, a lot. And so what we want to do is bring your partner along and say, you do it in a truthful, direct, kind way, and that's the Dale Carnegie approach.
Really?
Yeah.
Listen, I don't think it helps. I'm arguing with you,
Okay.
the highest
right.
therapist on Yelp. But I am arguing with you. I don't think it helps. I think people know when they gain weight, and I don't think hearing it from somebody else helps. And I'll tell you what else I don't think helps while I'm at it. I don't think it helps when somebody's lost a lot of weight and you go, oh my gosh, you've lost so much weight. I think it's like saying you were a big fat pig before. I don't think any of that helps.
Right.
I mean, saying to someone you look
great. But you got to communicate. It becomes a problem for some people. Okay, in their relationship, right? I mean that happens a lot. You're like, well, I'm not attracted anymore because you're not taking care of yourself.
I'm going to let you say what you say.
Okay, so if that's the case, then come along, side them and say, hey, honey, let's do this together, okay? And I want to spend more time. Well, then there's just going to be natural consequences in that relationship, And I mean, obviously, we want to hear unconditional love from our perspective.
What about parent to child?
That comes up a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a hard one, especially for moms, because you always hear, man, you can really mess someone up. And so my daughter, who's very thin, will say to me, Mama, can you tell that I've gained 5 pounds? I'm like, how do you answer this?
No, you start early, and you really need to look at sort of what are you bringing into the household, and sort of there's a sort of looking at the value of your menus, and you want to.
So do you admit to your daughter, yeah, you look like you did put on a few pounds?
Yeah.
Really?
So to be truthful, wouldn't you rather hear it from her instead of other people? And look, if something is going wrong, for that child, whether it be for their health reasons or it's affecting their negative their self-esteem negatively, then you want to try to help them. And so the best way to do that, though, is they need to know it's coming from a loving source. It's not, overly critical and those kind of things, and just say and be truthful about what's going on.
Okay, I want to move to another topic because I want to get to this. We only have a couple of minutes remaining, so we have to be quick.
Sure.
But the whole health thing, nutrition, obviously super important. Sleep, another factor, huge factor.
Yeah.
What is our brain doing while we sleep, and why does it matter so much?
Okay, big issue. Okay, the reality is if we don't sleep, our brain starts to get a little haywire, which is going to affect our body as well.
Living proof right
here. Absolutely. For instance, what happens is we have these things called short-term memory, and it's a function of a part of our brain called the hippocampus. Okay?
Right.
And so there's a process in which basically the short-term memory gets transferred into long-term memory. Okay, call that consolidation. Okay, when you don't sleep, and that's what happens when you sleep, you're transferring your short-term memory into long-term memory. Basically, that part of the brain gets full, and things start to get kind of haywire. And so so sleep is beneficial for so many reasons. But in terms of keeping a clear mind, it's pretty important as well. So
interesting. So there's a lot going on in your brain while it sleeps in a restorative sort of way, and then that's not even to mention the dreaming, which I think can be an amazing part of life too.
Processing.
My daughter is telling me all about the nutritional impacts on your dreams. She has the most vivid, amazing dreams ever, and has come to some great revelations in her dreams because of eliminating foods that reduce your ability to dream.
Isn't
that amazing?
On board with that. Absolutely.
Mark Spurlock, thanks for being with us.